Hello, this is Dr. Alex MacNeil, owner of Dr. Alex MacNeil LLC and producer of the podcast Mental Health Explained. I wanted to share with you a snippet of an interview I recently did with a friend of mine, Christina Vicario, who has her own videography business. During our interview, we talk about a wide range of topics, including the hip-hop culture, which is an integral part of my life and has informed my clinical work. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them in the comments section or contact me through my website, alexmacneil.com. We're going to start with Christina asking me about my dance background.
You're also multi-talented, and I heard that you have a dance background. And so how did you get into that, and what kind of dance do you do?
Absolutely. So the dance I do is a hip-hop dance called b-boying. People also know it as breakdancing, but the hip-hop terminology is b-boying and b-girling for girls, or breaking as more of a gender-neutral term. I've been doing that for 18 years, so it's been a long time.
It's amazing.
There's been so much of a journey with it, so many things, and I think the biggest thing is that, you mentioned how amazing it is, and I appreciate it. It didn't always feel amazing. It didn't always feel amazing,
Sure.
and I think the biggest thing is that I got to learn the trajectory of developing a skill set. The whole Malcolm Gladwell 10,000 hour thing,
Yes.
right? And those 10,000 hours are a doozy. They're really tough.
Yeah.
They can be
Grueling.
really grueling. Times when you think you're the greatest thing in the world, and times you think you're the worst thing in the world, and like everything in between. And it really helped me out with psychology a lot. There's so much, I could talk about this for days. There's so much of the hip hop culture that helped me out with psychology. But I think there are two big things that stick out in my mind. First is that trajectory I was talking about, because I had developed enough. By the time I started really getting involved in psychology, I had developed enough in hip hop and in b-boying to understand the ins and outs of learning a skill. So it was easier to learn psychology because I understood that trajectory from another skill set. But once you
Wow.
know something so well,
Yes.
and how that path goes, you could apply it to other paths. I could apply it to cooking if I wanted to start cooking well.
Yeah, right. I'm there with you too.
You could apply that there too. Like you could say to yourself, oh, sometimes things are not going to be so good. Or sometimes it's going to be prep, or sometimes it's going to be that. I learned all that from b-boying. And then the other big thing, and this is kind of a fun fact about b-boying, is that breaking, is that we have some, hip-hop culture, not hip-hop as it is today in terms of the marketing, in terms of the money-making, but in terms of just the cultural aspect, a huge part of hip-hop is improvisation. Of course, it's different we call it writing, but it's also called graffiti. It's different for graffiti. Of course, they have to plan that out most of the time.
Sure.
But at least for MCing and DJing and b-boying, breaking, or any of the hip-hop dances, popping, locking, rocking is what I do, which is another form of dance within the culture. There's so much improvisation. It's like jazz. And I think that was another big thing that really helped me be a psychologist, because the thing is that if you're doing therapy with somebody, there's an element of you kind of know what's going to happen during a session, but then there's an element where you have no idea what's going to happen in a session. A person might come in and something might happen during the week that was substantial, that just came out of the blue, and you have no idea. And so the improv that I learned from hip-hop, from the dance, I have to apply to being a psychologist. And you have to be on your toes. You have to understand the ins and outs of being able to step up to a challenge and kind of taking it as it goes. You don't know, in the dance, you don't know what song is going to be played. So you kind of have to understand how to listen to the music. In therapy, you don't know what the client is going to have to coming in with, but you kind of have to listen to the music too.
Yes, that's so beautiful. I love that
very
metaphor.
Similar. Yeah, thank you. It's very similar.